In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, hello everyone, and welcome to this edition of RIN in English News with me, Nimachit Sans. In a telephone call with the Ministry of Health and Medical Education on Friday, President Hassan Rouhani said the Health and Social Security Committees of the National Task Force for Fighting Coronavirus must take the necessary decisions to plan and control coronavirus. After receiving the Health Minister's report on the state of the disease in the country, as well as measures taken to control the growth of the number of patients in some provinces and cities, President Rouhani emphasized that provincial task forces for fighting coronavirus should continue encouraging people to follow health protocols until the virus is completely eradicated, with the cooperation of governor generals and city officials, as well as the Islamic Republic of Iran Broadcasting, the IRIB, and the media. In response to the Said Namaki's concern about the increase in the number of patients after intercity trips during the Eid al-Fitr holiday, and with regard to the coming summer holidays, the President stressed the Health Ministry should cooperate with Interior Ministry and the IRIB to inform people and give them the necessary precautions to avoid unnecessary trips that lead to the spread of the virus. The President thanked the hospital and medical staff of the country who have been treating patients since the beginning of coronavirus outbreak to the present day and said, with the increase in the number of patients in some provinces and cities, we are witnessing the timely presence of medical staff in these areas for controlling the rapid spread of the virus, which is commendable. President Rouhani went on to say, in the current situation, we are still forced to live with coronavirus, and called on all people to continue to fully and carefully heed health protocols so that we do not have to restore some restrictions that will have detrimental effects on social life and the economy. Head of Iran's Health Ministry's Public Relations Office said on Friday that 114,931 people out of a total of 146,668 infected with the coronavirus have survived and recovered, whereas 7,677 have lost their lives. Kianush Jahanpur said, since Thursday, 2,819 new affected cases have been detected in the country. He pointed out that over the last 24 hours, 50 people passed away due to the deadly virus. He went on to say, more than 896,000 coronavirus diagnostic tests have been carried out in Iran so far. Elsewhere, in a phone call with the Ministry of Education, President Rouhani instructed him to cooperate with the Health Ministry to follow health protocols in schools for conducting face-to-face exams at some education levels in such a way that students and their parents do not have any worries or concerns. The President also thanked the country's education staff and teachers for their attempts despite the problems made by the spread of coronavirus, not closing education and fulfilling the slogan of closure of a school is not closure of education, saying it is important to use the cyberspace and distance learning so that students continue learning. The President also said, taking advantage of the experiences of the past few months in the field of distance learning and ensuring the effectiveness of programs and the elimination of shortcomings in non-face-to-face and internet-based education to prepare for the start of the next school year and maintain quality. He added, educational centers and teachers should provide access to quality and complete education for all students, and planning should be done carefully to prevent disruption in education and the loss of educational opportunities. The President also referred to the involvement of most families in educating their children and the active participation of students in the learning process as positive developments in the result of coronavirus outbreak. President Rouhani said, coronavirus is not over yet, and we must continue to be ready to live with the disease in the future. He pointed out that the Education Ministry must make the necessary plans for the next school year and conduct educational activities and examine the situation with the cooperation of the Health Ministry to design the necessary protocols and submit them to the National Task Force for Fighting Coronavirus for approval. Also, in a telephone call with Energy Minister, President Rouhani said, Iranian water issue must be continuously pursued by the minister. Referring to the previous instructions given to the Minister of Energy and the Governor General of Khuzestan province, from the moment that the water problem arose in Iranian, The president once again instructed the energy minister to personally pursue finding a complete and quick solution to the water problem in the area so that a definite solution to the problem is found by the end of the current month. He said, the plans has to be in a way that in the future we will not see such problems in the field of drinking water supply anywhere in the country, especially in Khuzestan province. Referring to the minister's report and planning to inaugurate 250 projects in this field worth 50 trillion tomans across the country, the president appreciated the efforts made by the energy ministry regarding the country's water and electricity projects and emphasized planning for faster inauguration of these projects. The incoming Speaker of the Iranian Parliament calls for strong unity and concerted action among the Islamic nations against the Zionist regime's plots. In a telephone conversation with the Speaker of the Grand National Assembly of Turkey, Mustafa Sentop, on Friday, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf expressed the importance of cooperation between Iran and Turkey in ensuring sustainable peace and security in the region. Ghalibaf also called for unity, solidarity, and synergy among the Muslim countries to counter the plots hatched by the Zionist regime. He further highlighted the significance of promoting economic cooperation between Tehran and Ankara, saying the new parliament will soon form the Iran-Turkey Friendship Group. Ghalibaf said, the Islamic Republic of Iran and the Republic of Turkey have always had friendly relations at the highest level and called for the continuation of trilateral negotiations among Iran, Turkey, and Russia within the framework of the Astana peace talks. For his part, Sentop congratulated Ghalibaf on his election as a Speaker of the Iranian Parliament and expressed the Turkish Parliament's readiness to boost political, economic, cultural, and parliamentary ties with Iran. He also hoped that the two neighbors would restore their economic and trade ties to the previous level after settlement of the coronavirus crisis. The Turkish speaker also condemned the cruel sanctions against Iran and invited Ghalibaf to pay an official visit to Turkey. The coronavirus, COVID-19, is affecting 213 countries and territories around the world, with 5,962,453 active cases and 363,900 deaths. However, 2,628,359 people have recovered from the deadly virus. As the United States coronavirus death toll reached the grim milestone of more than 100,000 deaths this week, World health experts are concerned about new hotspots. The U.S. has over 1,775,000 active corona cases, and 103,671 people have lost their lives to the deadly virus. CNN has reported that in less than 3 months, 25% of Americans have lost their jobs. Meantime, South Korean officials are concerned about the new wave of the COVID-19. South Korean authorities have announced the closure of parks, cinemas, and other public places in capital Seoul and its suburbs for 3 weeks. In Pakistan, the number of corona infections has passed the 64,000 mark, with 1,317 deaths. Not heeding health protocols by Pakistani people has angered the Pakistani health minister. In Russia, there are worries of coronavirus spread among youths and children. Russia has 387,623 active corona cases and 4,374 deaths. Elsewhere, Egypt has made mandatory wearing facial masks as the flights are still suspended and parks, recreational places, resorts, gyms, and educational places are shut down. Egypt has nearly 21,000 corona cases and 845 deaths. However, Turkey has decided to ease COVID-19 restrictions. The country has over 162,000 corona cases and 4,489 deaths caused by the virus. In Italy, there are 232,248 active corona cases and 33,229 deaths. The Italian government has set June 20 to kick off its football league competitions. A volley of gunshots was heard as protesters gathered outside the United States Colorado State Capitol in Denver to express their outrage over the death of an unarmed black man by police in Minnesota. RT reported footage that surfaced on social media shows people being caught off guard by what was happening, ducking and rushing towards the building shortly afterwards. as police officers tell them to run for safety. Violence was also seen in other areas of Denver. A peaceful march demanding justice over George Floyd's death was disrupted by a black SUV that seemed to deliberately run into a group of protesters. Later, police deployed tear gas and flashbangs to disperse protesters who swarmed downtown Denver. Meantime, more than 40 protesters were arrested in New York City after clashing with police over the death of Floyd. The Justice for George Floyd protests started on Thursday evening, with crowds of people gathering in Manhattan's Union Square, chanting different refrains against police violence, including, "I can't breathe." A scuffle broke out involving some pushing and shoving between demonstrators and police. About 30 minutes later, another shoving match broke out. As tensions between protesters and police continued to rise, a third fight broke out, more intense and aggressive than the previous two. Elsewhere, CNN's black journalist, Omar Jimenez, has been taken into police custody during a live broadcast at the site of the protests over death of Floyd by police in Minneapolis. Incredible footage shows armed officers from the Minnesota State Patrol handcuffing reporter Jimenez after they told him to move, and he calmly asked them where he should stand. The journalist had showed his press credentials to the officers. He was handcuffed and led away as viewers watched in shock. A CNN spokesperson tweeted, "A CNN reporter and his production team were arrested this morning in Minneapolis for doing their job, despite identifying themselves, a clear violation of their First Amendment rights." Meantime, the United Nations has also condemned the killing of George Floyd during an encounter with the Minneapolis police and called for urgent measures to stop the U.S. authorities from slaying other unarmed black people. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet, issued the appeal on Thursday. The developments follow as the U.S. President Donald Trump has vowed decisive action to quell unrest in Minneapolis, sparked by the police killing of an unarmed black man, threatening to get the military involved after protesters torched the city police headquarters. RT reported the ultimatum came early on Friday morning from the president's Twitter handle, slamming Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fair as very weak and a radical left mayor, while warning that the federal government would take over the situation if local authorities don't bring it under control. Iranian tanker Faxan carrying gasoline took berth at Venezuelan port on Friday. Faxan tanker arrived in Venezuela and took berth at the Venezuela Special Economic Zone. Iran has sent 5 tankers loaded with 1.5 million barrels of gasoline to Venezuela to help jumpstart the oil refineries in the Latin American state amid a fuel crisis. And on that note, we come to a wrap. Goodbye.